the hidden health condition that affects 1 in 20 women and can cause extreme mood changes alongside debilitating and even life-threatening symptoms.
Yeah, despite the severe side effects, little is known about premenstrual dysphoric disorder.
Dr. Zoe joins us now alongside 36-year-old Kim Cormack from Birmingham, good morning, whose PMDD was so severe that she was forced to take drastic measures. Good morning to you both, ladies. Dr. Zoe, I'm going to come to you first. When I first got this brief, I was like, what is PMDD? I've never heard of it.
And you're not on your own. It's a very poorly known condition.
Right.
That does affect 1 in 20 menstruating women.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's equivalent to general anxiety disorder. It's similar numbers to migraine. Yet, many people have never even heard of it, including healthcare professionals.
Right.
So it's classed as a severe cyclical mood disorder. So if we break it down, it's severe. It's severe symptoms that are usually so debilitating that often women will say it messes up their life. But it is on the same spectrum as premenstrual syndrome, but it's at the very extreme ends. It's got quite strict diagnostic criteria. So it's severe. It's cyclical, so it's linked to the menstrual cycle. And it is a brain condition, but in people who have it, they have this heightened sensitivity to the changes, the normal hormonal changes that happen in the couple of weeks leading up to your period, meaning that the brain chemistry is altered and it causes this array of symptoms, which are predominantly mood symptoms. So they affect their psychological, their behavioural, and they are very debilitating. We'll hear from Kim shortly her experience of it. But it is predominantly a brain condition and the hormones are normal, but it's that sensitivity to the changes in hormones that causes the symptoms.
How long do those symptoms last?
So typically it's the luteal phase of the menstrual cycle, which is the two weeks before a period comes, so the time between ovulation and the period starting. So people who have this condition, it can be anything from sort of a few days up to 2 weeks. I know in Kim's case it was even longer than that. So I've heard people describe it to me as saying, every 2 weeks, a monster takes over my life, takes over my brain, takes over my life and messes my life up. And then I come back and spend the other 2 weeks trying to put it back together again. And that's kind of the description that I've heard.
Sounds brutal, Kim. Is that all of those things ring true for what you've been through?
100%, yeah. And not just for me, but, I mean, since my diagnosis, I've met so many other women who have PMDD, and there's a whole range of symptoms. I think, as you said, when it was at its worst for me, before I was diagnosed, I was getting symptoms which started the week before my period. And then within 6 months, it had actually taken over 3 weeks out of every month.
So that's the majority of your life, essentially.
Yeah, and this was during lockdown. So it was very hard to get any support for it anyway. And then when you do, obviously, GPs have never heard of it before.
Did it get significantly worse? How did it kind of affect you day to day and how did it start?
Well, it's always a difficult question to answer when it started, because I think looking back, there's lots of stuff from my early teens that you could say, well, that's probably PMDD, maybe difficult periods, irregular periods. But at the time, around 14, because of sort of stuff happening at home and being in foster care, that was put down to depression and anxiety.
Right.
So you try all the medication for that. But yeah, I think as I got older, and it's quite usual, I think, for women to get the worst PMDD symptoms in their 30s for some reason. And that's true for me. So literally COVID happened, lockdown happened, and by the end of it, I'd spent most of my time sick, depressed, suicidal, having migraines, having really intense and quite long, like, cramping. And, yeah, not having an answer as to what caused it.
That must have been so terrifying and frustrating and agonising. I mean, you mentioned you were feeling suicidal, but you did attempt to take your own life at one point because you were so wrought with what physically you were going through and what that was doing to you mentally.
I mean, unfortunately, it's happened numerous times. It's just on a scale, I think, with suicidal ideation and PMDD. So there'll be times where I can have symptoms and not feel suicidal, not have those thoughts. But more often than not, and it's a really prevalent symptom for nearly anyone who's had PMDD, is that you do have those thoughts. And it's more than a thought. It's like a monster. It's like being hijacked. And by something in your brain that sounds like you and is very confident and, yeah, is trying to convince you to hurt yourself. And it's happened quite a few times. But you're right, there was one very, very near miss in recent history, so...
And obviously, because your symptoms are so serious, did you reach out to anybody? Did you approach a doctor? Did you speak to anybody? Could you get any help?
I'm trying not to laugh. I don't mean to be mean. Yes, I think I tried to get help a lot. I was also living with a friend during COVID who witnessed all of this and was trying to keep me safe, and they didn't know what was going on. It was actually then Googling the symptoms and finding there's a form, it's the DCM-5?
Yeah, so that's the kind of psychiatric referral criteria for a diagnosis,
Right.
DSM-5.
We read through that and it was just like, check, check, check. And suddenly it was like, this is what it is. But still, we were trying to ring the Samaritans, trying to ring NHS 111, trying to get a GP appointment, and they're always locum GPs, especially during lockdown. And I remember one doctor actually asking me if I'd ever heard of PMT, and at the time I was 33. But I was quite used to it by that point because...
So none of the doctors you were talking to, even when you'd self-diagnosed, you'd gone, I think it might be PMDD, none of them had heard of it, none of them recognised it, none of them said, oh, actually, you might be onto something here.
Absolutely not. No, I mean, I could hear people typing into, like, I call it Dr. Google, typing in all the symptoms and then reading back the Google response, which is exactly what I'd done. So I recognised it. But it was only after lockdown that I got a new GP who actually had heard of it.
Yeah, which must have been a huge relief to you, Kim.
Yeah.
Like a huge relief.
Zoe, why do GPs, and they have an awful lot on their plate and a lot of conditions have to be... Why have more of them not... If it's affecting 1 in 20 women, why have more of them not heard of it?
Well, exactly. It wouldn't happen with migraines, would it, Ben? So if we just sort of look at the bigger picture, this DSM criteria, it was only really recognised, that was 2013. The World Health Organization only recognised this as a condition in 2019.
Wow.
There is no test for it. I've never received any education about this. I was taught about it by a patient. It's about 10 years ago. A patient came to me, described what you're describing and said, I think it's this PMDD, which I'd never heard of.
No.
So I went and found a really great resource on the Mind charity website and said, I completely agree with you, when we moved forward. So I learned about this from a patient myself. There are no specific guidelines. There are NICE guidelines, but PMDD comes under the premenstrual syndrome guidelines. So we're just way behind with this. I mean, the producer that's been helping us put this together actually said, who is a man, said, if this is a condition that affected men, you know, we'd be in a different place with this. So, you know, the fact that Kim is here today sharing her story, there'll be loads of people out there who think, this is me. And, you know, specifically if it has that on-off switch, you know, you're fine, and then click of the fingers, it sets in, doesn't it? And then your period comes, or a day after your period comes, click of the fingers, you feel back to normal again. So that on-off and the severity of symptoms, it could be PMDD.
So, Kim, you've got this new GP that knew about it and has helped you now. Where are you through your sort of your process with PMDD? What have you done?
So that was... Yeah, so I had the new GP when I could move, when lockdown lifted, and she had just had some training just by chance, which she opted in for because trainee GPs and the NHS don't have to opt in to learn about this. And she'd only just learned about it, so she recognised it, and because the symptoms were so severe and so frequent, I got an urgent referral. And so about 4 years ago, I met the amazing Dr. Khan at Birmingham Women's Hospital, who I'm a little bit obsessed with, like not in a creepy way.
No, it's when someone helps you, when you finally feel listened to.
That's the thing,
Yeah.
is that he sat there and he actually listened to all of the other treatments I've tried since I was 14. And then I showed him all of I've been tracking my symptoms for about 2 or 3 months, if not longer. And instead of the doctor who told me back in 2010, but he didn't answer my question, he just drew a diagram and then rubbed something out and just said, that's you. He actually sat there and listened. And by the end of the consultation, I was put on treatment, knowing all the other things that I tried. So I was put on, it's called Prostat. So it's a chemically induced menopause.
Right.
So it is temporary, I guess, but yeah, and there's add back HRT and bone density scans and...
But then I'm guessing that that's a decision you have to make as well. Like, do you want children? Do you not? And then you're thinking of even maybe taking it the step further and having an elective hysterectomy as well, because your life is just upside down.
I mean, it wasn't a decision that I entered into lightly. It was something that was brought up in my first consultation, but we've had really open discussions, me and my consultant, for about 4 years now. And although the treatment has really given me huge sections of my life back, which I'm so grateful for, one of the drawbacks is because now I don't have periods, I can't predict when I'm going to have a dip. And when they happen, they're still quite serious. So it's, around Christmas we decided after a few difficult times that it's safer for me to have the hysterectomy. So I'm on the waiting list now.
Gosh,
I think for me, and maybe it's a strange thing to say, but I think actually being in foster care growing up, I learnt that family doesn't mean blood. Family can be so much. And I've never been the kind of person to always imagine myself pregnant or having a biological child. So in that way, I'm quite lucky.
Kim's obviously choosing to go to the quite extreme end of treatment for this because that's the right thing for her. There are other things people can do, though, aren't there? So...
Yeah, and I think Kim has tried all of these already.
Yeah.
So we would never obviously jump straight to the extremes. I think, you know, starting as we do when we're looking at how to treat a condition, validation for this condition must not be underestimated. I think somebody who's been experiencing these types of symptoms possibly, you know, their entire adult life, that validation that this is not in your head, this is a real thing, your observations are absolutely correct, that mustn't be underestimated. And then there are lots of various different ways of approaching it from a self-help point of view, but it really is a case by case, because saying to somebody, actually exercise can be really, really beneficial because it can help correct that chemical imbalance in the brain very quickly. But if somebody's got very severe depressive symptoms, saying go out for a walk is not the right thing for them. So it is very much case by case. But you can look at nutrition, you can look at exercise, mindfulness, CBT, all these things are worth a try. Some supplements may be worth trying as well, calcium, magnesium, vitamin B6, but make sure you don't overdo it on that one. Again, not going to do you any harm, worth a try. But then, you know, if that's not working, you need further help. There are medical treatments. So some types of antidepressants can help some people. And for this condition, it doesn't always mean taking it all of the time. It might just be taking it for a week or 2 weeks of your cycle. There's hormone treatments as well, which can help. And then you get to a point where you need a specialist referral if you're going beyond that. It might be medications like what Kim's taken, which send the ovaries to sleep.
We've had a response from the Department of Health and Social Care. It's totally unacceptable that women are not getting the care they need. That is why we're reforming women's health care, ensuring women's health is never again neglected. The government is also ensuring mental health gets the same focus as physical health, investing 26 million into new mental health crisis centres, which is important and something that is absolutely needed. Kim, I wonder how you feel, though, about the future. I mean, you're having to go to extreme measures for this, but do you feel like there's some hope?
I do feel hopeful, I do. I know that the first year or so, again, Dr. Khan has been incredible with preparing me for what the next steps are. Once I've had the hysterectomy, I know the first year can be a balancing act, but I'm so used to that at this point.
Yeah.
And there is hope. And I think, you know, even coming here today, like, and not knowing, I could get on the train and then have a bad dip, and then what's going to happen? And just in general, I've realised that 1 minute I can be fine, or in the next minute I can want to end my life. So you really do feel like you have to cherish really happy moments, and you don't take things for granted. And, you know, in the last year or so, as well as being diagnosed with ADHD recently, another thing that women aren't being diagnosed enough with, the two things together, it's been, kind of an unmasking the last year, where I'm actually honest with friends, honest with loved ones, allowed myself to even contemplate falling in love again. And I told myself I was probably never going to do that because I never wanted somebody to see me in that way.
Do you know what? The fact, as you say, that you've been able to come here and be honest is going to help so many people watching.
And just being listened to and heard and stuff, you know what I mean?
Thank you for coming in, Kim.
Thank you.
It's incredible to meet you. If you would like to know more about PMDD or need some support, all the information you need is on our
Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload new content every day, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out, and we'll see you in the morning.